And then for today's practice, I want you to start off in standing pose just so I can give you a little lay of the land of what's going on in the hips and just some awareness here. So first, come into a nice mountain position. You're standing nice and tall. Your feet are rooted down into the ground. Crown of the head is reaching up towards the sky. Awesome. And then just come onto the heels a little bit. Lift and spread the toes and set each toe down one at a time. Cool. And then you might feel comfortable rocking forward and backward. Awesome. And then just give a soft bend in the knees and in the hips and in the shoulders, because it's cool. Your feet are rooted down. You won't go anywhere. All right. Take a nice full inhale in through the nose. Sigh it out as you exhale. Full inhale. Sigh it out as you exhale. This time as you inhale, imagine that you're drawing a lot of the energy up from the earth, up through the body, up through the torso, up through the neck, and out the crown. And exhale, send all of the energy back into the earth as if it was grounding down. And you may decide to close your eyes or keep a soft gaze here. Just find what you need so you can get more into your body and not worry so much about distractions. Taking another full inhale in. And exhale out. So this practice is going to have some awareness on your hips, right? And nothing's going to be right or wrong because you are bringing some awareness to what feels good and what you need. So while you're here, maybe you place your hands onto your hips and see, first and foremost, if you can just make some adjustments from side to side. Maybe you feel your hips move up and down. Just gentle movements here. And then find a point of stillness. See if you can release your glutes. Sometimes we like to squeeze our butt. See if you can relax the glutes here. Cool. And then maybe you take the hip from side to side. Nothing fancy yet. You're just kind of seeing how you're moving along. And if you want, you can start making a circle, trying to keep your feet grounded. So, you know, as you're moving along, maybe you start noticing where in the legs the muscles are being activated. Once again, nothing's right, nothing's wrong. And then reverse direction. And see if any muscles change. Okay, you're gonna stay here just for a little bit. But as you're doing this, when you go from one side to another, to the front, to the back, just notice now how the weight is shifting in your feet. Cool. And then come to a point of stillness. Awesome. Okay, I'm going to turn to the side. You don't have to. You're good. You can stay rooted and grounded. But I want you to pick your favorite foot to root down on and slowly lift the other foot forward, trying to keep the knee straight without locking the knee. And then bring the same leg back so you're in extension. Flexion of the hip, maybe you bring the leg up a little higher and notice what's being activated. And then extension. And then maybe one more time. Awesome. And then come to a point where you're standing. Okay, let's change this up a little bit. When you bend your knee, it changes the muscles that are activated. So when you had your hip go forward in extension, you may have noticed some muscles, okay? And then when you bend the knee and then bring the leg up a little bit, you might notice that there's a little bit going on in the hamstrings, okay? And then slowly with the knee bent, bring the leg back, and you may notice here that you've got your quads activated a little bit. So you have flexion and extension, and then it changes when you bend your knee. So you might notice that in tonight's practice with a bent knee, what you feel. And then still bringing down on your favorite leg, or you can switch it up. When you take the other leg out to the side, that's abduction, abduction. When you bring the leg into center, that's a deduction, adding the leg back, okay? And this is why I'm skipping the knee and coming right to the hip from the foot. So you're rooted down on your favorite leg, and you turn your other toes out to the side. So do you feel how that external rotation changes in the hip? You may feel that in the hip. And then when you turn the toes in, you might have a little internal rotation. So you might feel this difference in the different warrior poses. So warrior 1, your toes kind of come in a little bit more. Warrior 2, it's more of a 90 degrees. So you might feel that shift and that change, okay? So I think those are the basic ones. So you'll hear me refer to some of those motions in tonight's practice. Okay, so let's start off at the top of our mat in a mountain pose. If you're not already there, you can meet me there. We're rooted down to the ground with our feet. And maybe we lean forward and we lean back. Our hips are in line with our ankles. Shoulders are in line with the hips. So you might have to bring the belly button in. Ears are in line with the shoulders. Sometimes we like to jut the chin out. So bringing the shoulders in line with the ears. Arms are down to the side, palms are forward. And I want you to give yourself a beautiful body scan here, starting from the top, the crown of the head, down to the feet. And notice where you're holding tension. Now you're standing erect, so your muscles are activating a little bit for stability, but nothing should be contracting too tightly for that stability, okay? So if you feel any tension somewhere, see if you can soften. Cool. Let's just take a nice full cycle of breath here. Okay, reach your arms up high to the sky, full inhale. And then fold forward as you exhale. Feet are rooted down. And while you're in this first forward fold, see if you can soften the glutes a little bit. The femur is this, the top of the leg bone at the top that connects into the hip. See if you can try to send the femur back. So if you need to place your hands on your hips as a reference, as a gentle guide. Dropping the head, you're in this first forward fold. And then find a halfway lift here. So belly button is coming into the spine. Tailbone is still pushing back. Exhale, fold forward. Place your palms onto the mat. Step your right foot back, then your left into a plank pose. And you can rock back and forth if you would like here. The toes are planted. You're pushing out through the heels. The palms are underneath the shoulders. The belly button's coming into the spine. And see if you can soften in the glutes here. All right, take another full cycle of breath. The shoulders are sliding down and away from the ears. And then drop your knees. Okay, from here, your toes can be planted or untucked, but I want you to just notice, has anything shifted or changed in the hips? Are you putting a little more weight on one knee or the other? And then as you exhale, lower down slowly onto your mat. Okay, and bring yourself long. So this is your first time prone onto your mat. And you can feel your hip bones onto your mat, okay? So see if you can have some balance between the left and the right. Sometimes we like to roll onto one hip more than the other. And if you feel your weight more predominantly on one hip, that might mean that you have a little internal rotation going on that side. Okay, so placing the elbows underneath the shoulders, forearms are onto the mat, hands are onto the mat. Just slowly lift yourself up. Okay, and this is your gentle assessment of the low back here. If this is too much compression, you can always come down a little bit lower. And you're just feeling how the weight is balanced between the left and the right. And that might tell you a little something of what's going on in your hips or not. And then as you exhale, lower down slowly. Place the palms underneath the shoulders, tuck under the toes, come up into your plank pose, and then send your hips up high to the sky for your first downward dog. Planting your feet here, so have your feet have a solid connection. See if you can get all the points of the feet even, so the inner, the outer, the front and the back. Really send the tailbone up high to the sky, best as can be. And if the hamstrings are tight, bend the knees. All right, really pushing the tailbone up to the sky. Nice full inhale. One more breath here. Full inhale. And as you exhale, walk your feet to the back of your hands, finding your forward fold. All right, feet are rooted down to the ground. See if you can make certain that the toes are pointing forward and that the knees are pointed forward here. Because if you turn your toes out a little bit, that's going to change what's going on in the hips, okay? So try to keep the toes pointing forward. Find your halfway lift. Fold forward, and then reach your arms up high to the sky. Full inhale. Exhale, fold forward. Find a halfway lift here. Plant your hands, step both feet back into your plank pose. Give yourself a nice assessment here, and then as you exhale, lower down slowly. Find your back bend on the inhale. And then exhale, push on back into your downward dog. Staying here for 3 cycles of breath. See if you can keep your feet rooted down, hips sending up high to the sky. One more breath. And then root down through your left foot as you bring your right leg high to the sky. Point your right toes down and push out through your right heel. All right, you're starting to feel a little extension right now going on in the right hip, and then bend your knee. See if anything changes, and then slowly stack the right hip on top of the left, sending the right heel over to the left glute. Be gentle. And then if you rotate your ankles, you might feel a little bit in the hips. All right, and then carefully and mindfully, right leg comes high to the sky, 3-legged downward dog. Step your right foot through to your hands, coming into a high runner's lunge. Okay, so the left toes are planted. You're pushing out through the left heel. Right foot is planted. Lift and spread the toes here, and then set the toes down one at a time. Yeah, and then maybe you rock forward a little bit on the right ball of the foot so you feel the solid foundation on the right heel. Feel rooted and planted in the left toes, and then gently and carefully set the left heel down like you're setting up for a warrior one. Okay, push both feet down to the ground, and then use your arms to come up high to the sky for your warrior one. Full expression here. Okay, let's just do a little check quickly of the feet. Lift and spread the toes nice and wide, and set of the left foot and set them down one at a time. Push out through the outside of the left heel. Reach the arms up. Okay. Gently start bending into the right knee. Send the right hip back carefully. Left hip is coming forward, gentle as can be. Arms come up high to the sky. Okay, see if you can release your glutes. Some of us like to tighten up here. And then try to make sure that you're not spilling your hips forward. So bring the belly button in, arms come up high. And don't try to like crank the hips, be gentle here. If you've gone through any form of a pregnancy, your hips have changed big time. So like, be gentle, we're all at different points. One more cycle of breath, and I really want you to take a good body scan here, rooting down, reaching up. And then as you exhale, frame your right foot with both hands. Come back into your high runner's lunge. So you're going to feel the heel spin up, and you're going to feel that rotation in the hips as you do that, okay? So just feel that. Maybe you push out through the left heel. You feel that extension going on in the left hip. And then take your full inhale. As you exhale, right foot meets left, plank pose. And then you can slowly take it through your flow or meet in a downward dog or take a child's pose. So once you get to your downward dog, once again, give yourself that assessment with the feet. Send the hips up high to the sky. 2 more breaths. So if you chose to take a child's pose, meet us in downward dog. See if you can release any of the muscles of the upper leg. And then reach your left leg high to the sky. So root down on the right foot, left leg comes high. Push through the left heel. And then bend the left knee. And then slowly take the left heel over to the right glute, stacking left hip on top of right. And if you make any ankle circles, you'll feel it in the hip. And then left leg comes high to the sky. And then carefully step the left foot through the hands, coming into a high runner's lunge here. So pushing out through the right heel, rooting down through the right toes, lift and spread the toes of the left foot. Root down, ground down. So you feel like you can bend your knee solidly. Stay here for a cycle of breath. Create your foundation and just feel it so you can memorize it. And then set your right heel down. Push out through the outside of the right foot. And then when you're ready, reach your arms up high to the sky for your warrior one. Okay, looking at your right foot, you might want to lift and spread your toes. Push down through the lateral side of the right foot. Bend strongly in the left knee. And then same thing here. If you can, place your hands onto your hips and gently guide the right hip forward if you can. Left hip comes back. Bend is strong in the knee. Arms come up high to the sky. And see if you're clenching anywhere or guarding anywhere. See if you can soften. Cool. 2 more breaths. Okay, as you inhale, reach your arms up high to the sky. As you exhale, frame your left foot. Spin your right heel up. So now you feel that internal rotation of the hip. Feel the difference. And then set your left foot back to meet your right plank pose. And then slowly and carefully take it through your flow. Don't rush the flow if you're taking it, because you might be guarding areas and not even realizing it. This practice is definitely a practice of awareness and an assessment. All right, if you've taken any other variation, slowly make your way into a downward dog. Reach your right leg high to the sky, so feel the extension. And then bring your right foot forward into your high runner's lunge. And then you're going to carefully set your left knee down. Okay. Root down to your right foot. And then you can make a choice if you want to untuck left toes or not. So if you've chosen to untuck your left toes, I want you to feel the tops of the feet onto the mat. And then be careful that you're not favoring the inner or the outer part of the left knee. And then carefully and gently start sinking the right knee over the right ankle, and you'll feel the stretch in the front of the left hip, okay? So take a few cycles of breath here. See if you can soften. And then be mindful that you're not favoring or rolling to one side of the foot or the other. Beautiful. Okay, find yourself in a traditional low lunge. And then tuck under the left toes, lift the left knee, high runner's lunge. So see how that changed, if it changed at all. Notice if you're clenching any muscles as you made that shift. And then set your left heel down, so you're back into your warrior one footing. Okay, and then straighten your right leg here and try to keep your right toes onto the mat. So you're taking the top of the hip bone or the thigh bone and you're sending it back gently here, okay? These are gentle movements. They're nothing huge, and that's because of how the joints of the hips are. You don't want them to make big movements. It's meant to stabilize. So while you're here, it's like a pseudo pyramid pose. Slowly see if you can just guide your left hip back carefully. And you might have to bend into the right knee a little bit. Just see where you're at. And then try to find a point of stillness. Okay, relax your shoulders. Some of us might be tensing around the shoulders. And then push out through the outside of the left foot. Beautiful. One more cycle of breath. And then bend into the right knee. Reach your arms up high to the sky, warrior one. All right, see how that changed or shift for you. Maybe it has, maybe it hasn't, don't worry. And then bring your right arm back, left arm forward, giving yourself a twist here. So you'll feel this more in the left hip because you're trying to guide the torso more towards the right side. So feel what's shifted, what's changed. See if you can keep the strength in the right thigh. One more breath. Cool. And then bring your arms up high to the sky for your warrior one. And then as you exhale, frame your right foot, step your right foot back to meet left, plank pose. And then yogis, make a choice of how you want to flow. And we'll carefully meet in downward dog. Beautiful. And then whenever you get to your downward dog, we'll be here for just a couple of breaths. So if you take another variation, I'll cue you. But once again, just root down through your feet, send your hips up high to the sky. Take a nice full inhale. Exhale. And if you took another variation, make your way into downward dog. And then send your left leg high to the sky. Send your left foot through to your hands for your high runner's lunge first. And then carefully set your right knee down. And you'll start noticing things shift and change. Make a choice and notice where your right toes are, where they need to be. Lift and spread the left toes. Root down. Okay, and then see if you can carefully take the left knee over the left ankle, feeling Whatever you feel in the right hip, be mindful that you're not clenching or tightening anywhere, because that might be a sign that you need to back off or change or modify. Cool. One more breath. And then we'll meet with the left knee over the left ankle. Slowly meet in your high runner's lunge, because now you're shifting a little bit. See how that changes in your right hip. And then set your right heel down, lift and spread the toe. Come on. Oh, wait, no, that's a lie. We're not doing warrior one quite yet. We're slowly straightening the left leg. Keeping the toes of the left foot planted onto the mat, you're just carefully sending the left hip back. Maybe the right hip comes forward a little bit, but you're pushing down to the outside of the right foot. There's a lot going on in your body right now, I'm sure. Taking full cycles of breath, root down to your feet. And then when your inhale happens, bend into the left knee, keeping your foundation of your feet. And then reach your arms up high to the sky. So you've been in this warrior one, you know what's good. You know how to set yourself up. You're dropping your shoulders down and away from the ears. We forget because we're working so much in the lower body. And then reach your left arm back and right arm forward. So you're noticing that you're slowly taking a slight twist here. Just have some awareness. Are you clenching anywhere? Are you tightening? Can you soften? Or does this feel so good? This little internal rotation on the right hip, does that feel good? Or are you like totally proud that you have some strength going on in the left hip? Let's think positive things, you know? One more breath. And then reach your arms up high to the sky, warrior one. And then as you exhale, frame your left foot with both hands. Spin your right heel up. Left foot meets right plank pose. And then slowly and carefully take it through your flow. And meet in a downward dog. If you've taken any other variations, slowly meet in the downward dog. Root down through your feet. Hips come up high to the sky, or as best as can be. Take your full inhale. Walk your feet to the back of your hands as you exhale. All right. Notice how your forward fold has changed from where you started. See if you can send your thigh bones back, your femur back. Find your version of a halfway lift. Fold forward. And then reach your arms up high to the sky as you inhale. Fold as you exhale. Woo. Find your version of a halfway lift today. And then plant your hands, right foot comes back, high runner's lunge here. Notice how your hip externally rotates as you spin your right heel down. And then reach your arms up high to the sky, warrior one. Let's have some fun. So you have your foundation going on in your feet. We're going to start rotating the torso now, and you'll feel that shift. So I think we're good in our foundation. So slowly start opening up to your warrior two. So this is where you're going to feel the front leg, your left leg, start doing some more rotation. You'll heel toe your right foot back. And if you want, you can lift and spread your toes, set your toes down, and notice how the weight shifts on your feet. Okay, so in the beginning when you were shifting from left to right, you felt how that changed in your hips too. It's the same thing. Reach your fingertips away from each other, root down. Awesome. You have a good solid foundation going on here. Drop your right hand to the back of the right thigh. Left hand comes high to the sky. Peaceful warrior. One more full cycle of breath. And then as you exhale, the left elbow on the left knee, the right arm comes up high to the sky, extended side angle. Okay, so you've got a little bit of flexion going on in the left hip. See if you can still keep pushing out through the right leg. Keep the right leg activated. Right arm comes parallel to the right ear. Extended side angle. And then reach both arms up, coming back into your warrior two. Okay, heel toe the right foot in just a little bit. Straighten the left leg without locking the knee. Okay, send the right hip back as you reach the left arm forward. Left hand comes down, right hand comes high to the sky for a triangle pose. Some of you felt an awesome hip opening here. Some of you didn't, because we're all at different spots. But while you're here, push down through the outside of the right foot. See if you can send the right hip back gently. Push down through the left foot without locking the left knee. Left hand or right hand is high to the sky. And you're taking the variation that you need. Awesome. Take a full cycle of breath. And then take your full inhale. As you exhale, bring yourself back into a warrior two. Hands are on your hips. And remember, turning your feet, you're going to feel something shift in the hips. So you're going to come into your wide-legged pose, or star pose. So you'll rotate the left foot in. Maybe you heel toe the right foot in. Have your foundation here, because then you'll turn the right toes out, right heel in, left toes out, left heel in. We'll do that one at a time. A lot of times in our practice, we do it all at once. So just notice one at a time, bending back into the knees, tucking the tailbone under. And then if you want, you can glide from side to side here. See if things have shifted and moved. And then arms come out to a T. Bend the elbows carefully. Find some stillness. Lift your toes and set them down one at a time. Make sure that the weight is even in your feet, because that kind of changes how you'll put your weight in your hips too. One more breath. And then as you inhale, reach up and then fold forward as you exhale. So now you're in a wide-legged forward fold. If you want, you can turn your toes to wherever's comfortable. When you're planted, lift and spread each toe. And make sure that you're not favoring too much medially or inside or outside of the foot. All right, drop the head best as can be. And just notice if you need to soften anywhere or if something feels really good. Beautiful. Find your halfway lift. And then walk your hands to slowly frame your left foot. And then as you rotate your feet forward, just notice how this changes in your hips and come back into your high runner's lunge. Rooting down through your right foot, your left foot, step your right foot forward into your fold. Find your version of a halfway lift. Gently fold forward. And then reach your arms up high to the sky. Full inhale. Exhale, fold forward. Find a halfway lift. This time, plant your hands, step your left foot back, high runner's lunge. Set yourself up here. Don't rush anything. I want you to feel everything. So you know if you're clenching or if it feels good, where. Gently set your left heel down. Create your foundation and reach your arms up high to the sky for your warrior one. And I may not cue it, but I will this time. You can lift and spread your toes. Come back to the basics. Gently, maybe you're leading one hip or you're noticing how you're moving in your hips. You have your foundation. All right, when you're ready, rotate open to your warrior two. So you're feeling the different rotations moving into the hips. Beautiful. You're strong. Hopefully you're not favoring one side or the other. One more full cycle of breath. And then drop your left hand to the back of the left thigh. Your right hand comes high to the sky. So this is a nice stretch in the front body. So you might feel the hip lift up or want to lift up. Your job is to keep it down. So that might mean backing off. One more breath here. And then as you exhale, come into your extended side angle. However that looks. And this is where you might be sending the left hip back gently. Strong bend in the right hip. One more breath. And then bring yourself back up into your warrior two. Bring your left foot in just a little bit. Straighten your right leg without locking the knee. Send your left hip back as you reach your right arm forward, finding your triangle pose. So really feel how this is shifting in the hips for you. And then find your version of triangle. You're doing great. As you shifted and moved around too, maybe root back down onto your feet, because the body likes to keep balance. And if one muscle group is tighter than the other, when you're shifting, it's going to compensate. All right, one more cycle of breath. And then when your inhale happens, draw yourself up. Exhale into your warrior two. Okay. Second chance. So place your hands onto your hips and slowly bring yourself into a wide-legged stance. Cool. And then turn one heel in and those toes out. And same thing with the other side. I'll let yogis choose. Cool. All right. Bring your arms out to a T. And then bring your elbows in. We won't shift from side to side, but take a nice full inhale. And as you exhale, bring the elbows into the torso. Inhale, allow them to come long. You've got a solid foundation going. Bring elbows into torso. Inhale, come on. Maybe you spread hands, fingers. Exhale, elbows come into torso. And it's your choice of what do you want to do with your hands. Cool. Come in long. And then elbows into the torso. And then come in long. Cool. Hands come back onto the hips. Straighten the legs best as can be. Take a nice full inhale as you exhale. Hinge forward. Pause halfway. Just pause here. And then slowly place your hands down. Find yourself in a wide-legged forward fold. And see if you need to rotate your heels out. Maybe they can stay in. And notice where you need to soften. Some of us are going to be able to really fold deeply. Others of us may want to explore staying halfway lifted, pushing the tailbone back and the crown of the head forward. So we're all at different spots. Taking a few more cycles of breath here. And then no matter where you're at, you're coming up halfway. And then slowly walking your hands, framing your right foot, and notice how everything shifts and changes as you rotate your feet forward. Come back into your high runner's lunge. Sometimes we miss those things. Cool. And then step your left foot to meet your right into your forward fold. And then find your halfway lift. Fold forward. And then rooting down through your feet, reach your arms up high to the sky as you inhale. And hands come down to the side as you exhale. So let's just stay here in mountain pose. Lift and spread the toes. See if you softened a little bit more in the hips. Maybe you move around a little bit. Cool. And then find some stillness. Okay, start rooting down on your right foot. And bend your left knee. So you have a nice extension, or I'm sorry, it's not. You have flexion of the left hip, but the right hip is stable. Cool. And then when you're ready, place your right hand onto your right hip if you want. Left hand comes to the inside of the left knee, and then slowly externally rotate out the left knee to the left side. And if you want, you can flex your left toes, stand up nice and tall. See if you can soften anywhere. Beautiful. And then bring the left knee into the chest. Reach the left foot behind and bring your right hand up. You might have shoddy balance because you didn't drink enough water today. So now you have some extension going on in the left hip, and the right hip is still your stable point. See if you can soften anywhere. Notice if you're clenching. One more breath. And then as you exhale, bring the left knee back in. Maybe you hug the left knee in. And set your left foot down. Reach your arms up high to the sky. Come into a chair pose. So here you're setting the hips back a little bit. You're coming onto the heels. The thighs are they're coming out a little bit. You have a little abduction going on in the hips, but not much. And then come up onto the balls of the feet. And then reach your arms up high to the sky and fold forward. Find your halfway lift. Fold forward. Reach your arms up high to the sky as you inhale. Settle back into mountain pose as you exhale. Second side. So root down through your left foot. Maybe you lift and spread your toes. You find that spot that feels good. So this will be your stable hip. This has got you. This is going to be your foundation. And then bring your right knee into your chest. Cool. And then right hand comes to the inside of the right knee, and externally rotate your right hip out to the side so you're like a pirate. Notice if you're clenching anywhere. See if you can soften. Sometimes we clench because it's the guarding mechanism, because other muscles are weak. Try not to take too much value to it. You're just doing an assessment. And then bring your right knee in. Send your right foot back. Take a hold of the right foot. And reach your left arm up high to the sky for this version of a dancer's pose. If you have another variation in your practice, feel welcome to it. So you have a little extension going on in your right hip. You're doing great. Okay, carefully start bringing the right knee in, setting the right foot down, reach your arms up, inhale, exhale into chair pose. Beautiful. And then reach your arms up high to the sky as you inhale. Fold forward as you exhale. Beautiful. And then start bending forward so deeply. Knees bent so that the bum comes onto the mat. And while your weight has shifted, your feet might have shifted in and out. So try to adjust your feet again. Try to see if you can have the second and third toe in line with the knees. Hug the knees into the chest. Sit up nice and tall. Root down through the feet. And then as you exhale, tuck the chin into the chest and lower down one vertebra at a time. And once you're there, just shimmy your shoulders around so you feel rooted down to the ground. Maybe rock your head from side to side. But then heel toe, the feet as wide as your mat. Okay, lift and spread your toes. Just root down so you feel balanced on your feet because we took them a little bit wider. Cool. Maybe your knees knock in here. And you feel a stretch on the outside of the thighs. All right, and then take your knees up high to the sky. As you exhale, allow your knees to fall over to the right side and maybe place your hands on your hips and see how they move, okay? And try to see at what point maybe it would be your left hip. If it rotates in, where it rotates in, it will rotate in, but if it comes up as well. And you have a little external rotation going on in the right hip, so maybe you feel a little something in the inner hip area. And you just take a few cycles of breath here. Okay, as you inhale, bring your knees back up. Your feet will come flat. Try not to rush it. You can feel all the good stuff, right? All right, and then meet with the knees up, and then allow the knees now to fall over to the left side. So the right hip is externally rotating. Maybe you notice if the right hip depresses, or I'm sorry, if it elevates or depresses down. Feel at what point the left hip is having some external rotation. And then as you inhale, slowly bring the feet flat and the knees up. Maybe you shift the hips around, because that happens when we move our weight around. Cool, and hug the knees into the chest here. All right, play around first. Bring the knees in close to each other and hug them in and give them a squeeze. Maybe point the toes up and push out through the heels so you can activate the legs a little more. And notice what you feel. If your toes aren't pointed and if your feet are kind of limp, you're not activating the leg and you might not feel what's going on. Okay. And then take the hip or the knees as wide as the torso here and then give the legs a good squeeze and see if you notice a difference. Some of us are going to notice things, others of us aren't. Because we're all at different points. Beautiful. Okay. Take a hold of the bottoms of the feet coming into a happy baby pose. So now we're sending our feet up high to the sky and our thigh bones, our femur, the heads of our femurs are coming in more towards the ground. Our knees are bent. And then slowly extend one leg. You pick, yogi's choice. Notice how that changes from the bent knee. And then slowly switch sides. And it's going to be different because everyone's left and right is different too. Cool. All right, I want you to play around here, rocking from side to side. And maybe notice if you pull up more on one side than the other.
I don't mean to word it that high like an inflection. But that just might, I mean, there's a lot of things that are going on in our body. If you notice one hip pulls up or you have some restriction, you might just have some tightness in the piriformis. We have these, there's like 8 layers in your glutes, okay? There's like 8 layers that attach from some point in the sacrum to the hip. So if you notice like one hip is pulling up higher than the other, or you don't have some equanimity, you just might have some tightness in one set of the hips or the other. It could be, you know, some structural alignment might be off a little bit. You're not diagnosing, we're not diagnosing, we're just creating some awareness here. Cool, and then like, let's just meet with the knees bent, the feet are up. And maybe we can straighten our legs here together. Okay, try to bring your toes in just a little bit. So you're turning the toes in. You see how that changes or feel how that changes in your hips? I can't do it that well. And then we'll slowly meet with the feet and the legs coming together with our version of legs up against the wall. Try to have the toes pointing towards your face. The heels are coming up. Arms are coming down to the side. If you want, you can lift the hips and place something underneath your low back to support the low back. If not, you can really focus on feeling the low back rooting into the mat and maybe the femur or the thigh bones drawing down to the ground. And even here, try to keep your second toe in line with your knee. Try not to allow the feet to splay too far out to the side. So we'll be in this inversion just for a little bit. Take one more full cycle of breath here. Nice full inhale. And as you exhale, bend the knees, bringing the knees into the chest, giving them one more squeeze. And then carefully send one leg long. Once the heel touches, keep the toes up and send the other leg long. Once the heel touches, keep those toes up. Okay. You might have to adjust how you're feeling in your hips. Start waving your feet from side to side. So you feel the internal and external rotation going on in the hips. And then for here, just allow the feet to splay off to the side. That gives a little more relax, you know, that relaxes the muscles a little bit. Coming into your Shavasana pose. So take a few cycles of breath here, mindfully. Stay with it, or allow your breath to fall into a natural rhythm. And I will call you back.
All right, yogis, take a nice full inhale in through the nose. Sigh it out. Maybe just wave your feet from side to side. Reach the arms up overhead. Give yourself a full body stretch. And slowly make your way onto your right side. If you want to take a fetal position, that's cool. And then with the left palm planted, slowly push yourself up into a seated pose, sitting up nice and tall. Maybe shift and root around. See if you notice a difference of how you're sitting. Hopefully you feel a little more balanced. Placing the hands on the shins or the thighs, slowly bring the heart forward a little bit. And let's end your practice, or let's end our practice together with some nice inhales and exhales. And then reach the arms up overhead, bring the palms together in prayer and slowly pull them down to heart center. Thumbs are touching the sternum and give yourself a nice soft bow. I honor this place inside of me in which the entire universe dwells. It is a place of peace, it is a place of love, and it is a place of kindness. And when I am in this place in me and you are in this place in you, together we are one. Namaste.